Hey gang, you're not going to want to miss this. Elon is buying Twitter. That sent Doge screaming higher. What does it mean? Abra Bitcoin Analyst Natalie Brunell is here with a deeper look at what's happening in the world of Bitcoin, the newest country to adopt Bitcoin as legal currency, and the first US city is going to start a mining operation for Bitcoin. I know you've got a lot of questions, so today we're bringing in the experts. The Abra product and support team will be here to answer your questions about all things Abra and CPRX. It's our AAA, Ask Abra Anything. All right, let's do this. Okay, let's get into this. So we've got to start off with some macroeconomic news. We had the negative downward movement in the economy shrinking in the first quarter. Let's see, the economy shrank or contracted in the first 3 months of the year. Basically, economists said supply constraints at home, demand shortfalls abroad, rapid inflation all weighed on what seemed to be a pretty resilient consumer-driven recovery. GDP, gross domestic product, when they kind of adjusted for inflation, it fell 0.4% in the first quarter, according to the Commerce Department. It was actually the first decline since the early days of the pandemic, and a sharp reversal since we had 1.7% growth in the first 3 months of 21. But the negative number really masked evidence of a recovery that economists, and according to my numbers, seems really strong. So the decline of 1.4% on an annualized basis is mostly resulting from, all of these kind of numbers that in the background are tracking inventory, trade figures, reduced government spending on COVID, blah, blah, blah. So, but the most important number, really consumer spending, which is the engine of the US economy, actually grew like almost 0.75% in the first quarter. And this is despite soaring gas prices, Omicron wave, which really hit a few states pretty hard, basically subdued and restrained spending on restaurants, travel, and other services. Now they're starting to pick up later in the quarter, but they had a muted effect on the first quarter. And nevertheless, consumer spending effectively grew by 0.75%, which is pretty astounding. Okay, we'll see how that plays out in the coming months, given this insane inflation, gasoline prices, costs of travel going up, et cetera, et cetera. But for now, it looks like people are ready to spend after being locked up for a while. Okay, so now, of course, we have to start off looking at the charts. Let me bring up the charts here. While I'm doing that, Elon is basically, you can't turn around without seeing Elon in the news, right? He announced this week that he's buying Twitter, and of course, what happens when he announces that he's buying Twitter? Shares, excuse me, the price of Dogecoin, which has effectively become kind of an Elon coin, go through the roof. Right. And I think they were up like something like 25%, almost immediately. Now you can see here on the weekly charts, it's a bit of a reversal is forming. So in other words, the news was kind of short-lived and Doge kind of came back to earth. And so those of you who are interested in Doge, I'm not that interested in. I find it somewhat interesting as kind of this whole meme coin, honestly, mostly around Elon. It doesn't really seem to be having much of an effect, although it was interesting to see it pop after the news. Again, if you're planning to speculate on Doge, be very smart. Don't play more than you can afford to lose. And that's enough on Doge. More importantly, let's look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Basically, the last year has been a wash, right? If you look at where we are, and it's been another, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down weeks in a row. And if you look at today's price, it is more or less where it was in April of last year, effectively washing out all of last year's gains and then some. And, obviously I have no crystal ball, but the prevailing wisdom among the talking heads is there's more downside ahead. Now, all of this pessimism, especially on kind of the mainstream business media, tells me that we may have actually hit a short-term bottom, because usually they're like the last ones on the bus in either direction. And so that means that we may actually have seen the route play itself out. I don't know. It's possible there's more downside ahead. But when I see all the pessimism amongst the talking heads, it tells me that we may have some upside ahead of us, especially given the level of put volume that I'm seeing in the stock markets. S&P, same story. S&P is basically down to the consolidation levels it was at in the same time last year, effectively wiping out an entire year of gains. All of the interim or kind of bumps that we had earlier or later in Q1 have all been wiped out with 4 weeks of sharp drawdowns in the S&P 500. Bitcoin continues to kind of parallel the stock markets, although with more volatility. Here's the intra-week chart on Bitcoin. We've basically been consolidating sideways for about a year now. As I've told you before, I think this pullback in May was probably initiated more by China's mining ban, which probably would have seen Bitcoin highs up here in the 70s or 80s if it hadn't happened. And then the pullback might have, gotten us into the 50s or high 40s, but we are where we are. Now, what's really interesting about what's happening with Bitcoin, and Willie Wu wrote about this in his newsletter this week, is the supply shock that's forming is astounding. And it's basically preceded every significant run-up that we've seen in Bitcoin, whether you go, back here years, and if you zoom in, these run-ups would look huge, but obviously they pale in comparison on a price basis to these run-ups. But all of these run-ups, back there, here, were all preceded by significant supply shocks. And supply shock here is basically defined as Bitcoin being bought by whale holders and taken out of circulation, and out of circulation meaning off of exchanges. And we'll talk about Abra in a few minutes, and where we've seen just massive increase in deposit volume over the last few weeks. Okay, so again, not a lot of positive news in the kind of the macro market situation, with, I will say, one big exception, right? So given the incremental volatility that we've traditionally seen in Bitcoin versus most risk on assets, the fact that we've really been consolidating consistently at this level while stocks have fallen even further this year is really interesting, right? We took the pain on Bitcoin from November through January. The stock market has been taking its pain basically now. And on a relative basis, yes, Bitcoin is down the last few weeks, but it's down back to the consolidation levels that it was at in Q1. It has not fallen further. So that is interesting. That tells us something. Right now, that doesn't mean that we won't have a drawdown to 30s. I seriously doubt, Raul Paul talked about this in his video last week, and I agree with him. I seriously doubt we're going to see new lows or kind of intra-week lows, past 30K. It's possible, but I doubt it. If you see, we've got this kind of long-term moving average, which is still moving up. And, that would, if it was a drawdown, that continued kind of unabated for a few weeks, you'd get to 33K where you'd hit that moving average. And it's been years since Bitcoin has fallen below that moving average. And I would be shocked, given the supply shock we're seeing right now, if that happened again. Just to put in context how bad it is in the stock market right now, Apple had an unbelievable report yesterday on its quarter. And you see it's basically forming a spinning doji on the weekly chart right now, which basically is does not bode well for the markets, given that Apple is just, it's a cash machine. They just announced $90 billion in stock buybacks, an increase in their dividend, record revenues. The company can do no wrong. And here we are looking at a spinning doji where the stock is effectively down or flat for the week. So that right there tells you from a macro perspective all you need to know about what's going on right now. Because if that stock isn't plowing ahead, given the guidance, the market is basically just not wanting anything right now. Okay, so I'm happy to take more questions on this later. I see a few questions on price, as always, in the chats. We'll come back to that in a little bit. Some other interesting things before we hand it over to Natalie. Let's see, Bloomberg. It's really incredible. The news for crypto just really keeps getting more and more interesting, right? Bloomberg reported that Goldman has issued its first Bitcoin-backed loan, right? This is a big deal, right? It's secured a lending facility and lend cash collateralized by Bitcoin. Hopefully, Natalie can give us her take on this. But they issued their first ever lending facility backed by Bitcoin. It's a major step for a U.S. bank. I think that really shows Wall Street's embrace of crypto. It was collateralized by Bitcoin, which was owned by the borrower. And the deal was interesting because of its structure and the fact that there's a 24-hour risk management model that has to be in place. Now, at Abra, we run a lending desk, an institutional lending desk, and we deal with these risk management issues that Goldman Sachs is now going to have to deal with. As I've told you many times, traditional markets are closed more than they're open. So risk management means something very different in traditional banking circles, whereas in crypto, prices move Saturday night at 1 a.m. I remember back in December when the first this current kind of market drawdown started, and it was like a Friday night on the East Coast, and everybody was scrambling back to their desks to figure out what was going on. And that's the nature of crypto. Anyway, really great to see Goldman get into that and meet client demand. It really shows what's happening on the institutional side. We'll talk about that in a minute vis-a-vis Abra Capital Management. The Labor Department, this one cracks me up. The Labor Department says they have grave concerns about Fidelity's Bitcoin 401k plans. Definitely want to talk to Natalie about that one. That is hilarious to me. They don't come out with any comments about people adding Tesla shares, right, or these super volatile ARK, innovation products. Which, by the way, I'm actually very bullish on long term. If I was buying stocks right now, which I'm not, I would be buying all of ARK's products. I think they've basically are way oversold, and they really represent the future of tech. But you don't hear any warnings from the Labor Department on people adding those to their 401k, right? And they could obviously go much, much lower than the 50% drawdown in these ARK shares, which is a much bigger drawdown than Bitcoin, by the way. A really interesting op-ed on CoinDesk by Mark Lurie. He's a really interesting guy, and Peter Dittes, I think you say his name, basically on how Western sanctions on Russia could make crypto an international reserve currency. Really, really interesting. Highly recommend you take a quick look at it. It's not a very long piece, but basically, the idea being Western powers have imposed unprecedented financial sanctions in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which really marks a seismic geopolitical shift that could drive many countries to adopt crypto. And we'll talk about what we're seeing there in the Bitcoin world with Natalie in a moment, with other countries now adopting Bitcoin. And another really interesting op-ed by my friend Naomi Brockwell. She discusses how Edward Snowden played a key role in Zcash's privacy coins creation. Did not know this. This was never made public before. I guess there's a new documentary coming out that shows how Snowden was involved in the initial launch of Zcash, which was really interesting. So that's on CoinDesk as well. Good job this week, CoinDesk. Some really, really interesting coverage of what's happening in the market. Okay, so we had to move our segment with Marissa Kim, our new general partner in our new Abra Capital Management division, to next week due to her travels at the FTX crypto event in the Caribbean. And so those of you interested in what we're doing with asset management, with institutional investors, and want to hear all about Abra's new funds, Marissa's going to be with us next week. And not only that, we'll get to hear about what happened at this Crypto Bahamas event that I'm hearing so many great things about. Apparently, Tony Blair and Bill Clinton spoke to Sam Bankman-Fried. I guess he was on stage in his shorts and T-shirt yesterday, typical for Sam. But we look forward to hearing all about that next week from Marissa. All right, so okay, up next, Natalie Brunell is here with her deep dive into the Bitcoin headlines of the week. And of course, the Abra team is on deck to answer all of your Abra and CPRX questions. I guess you might have a few. Obviously, you have a few. It's all I hear about. But first, it shouldn't be complicated to trade crypto. That's what we believe here at Abra. We've built a platform that is simple and safe to use. I may be biased, but I think we've done a pretty darn good job. Take a look at how trading on Abra works.
Trading on Abra is easy. Just click the exchange button. Tap the source you'd like to trade. Tap on what you'd like to trade it for. Type in the amount. Then click trade. Tap, type, trade. Totally easy on Abra.
All right, welcome back. So Natalie is quickly becoming a show favorite. I love this. So we've got our Abra Bitcoin Analyst, Natalie Brunell, back with her weekly Bitcoin breakdown. What's going on, Natalie?
Hi, Bill. Well, it's so good to see you, and hello to everybody. You know, there's so much in the news. And once again, like you mentioned in your price analysis, nothing is really triggering Bitcoin to go back into the high 40s or gosh, don't you miss the 50s and 60s, but a great accumulation period because it's also not dropping. So I think this is a good sign. But I think the biggest headline, the one I want to start with and really focus on right now is 401ks. So Fidelity, it's the largest retirement planning company, the largest issuer of 401ks in the country. They will allow investors to add Bitcoin directly into their 401k retirement accounts. So there is going to be a ceiling that is placed on how much you can allocate by employers, and they can decide how much, but the maximum cap is expected to be no more than 20% because so many companies still find this to be a very risky asset. But this is a huge move because it's going to allow first-time investors to gain exposure to Bitcoin without having to have a separate account on a crypto exchange. So why else is this huge? Fidelity is the biggest company with $2.4 trillion in 401k assets. So let's be really bullish about it. If 20% was allocated to Bitcoin, that could really potentially move the price. Guess who signed on as one of the first employers? I'm sure it won't be a hard guess. Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy, of course. He's going to allow employees to be part of this plan. And I'm just going to take a wild guess and say that he's going to max out on that, 20% cap. But I really think that this is important to put into context because I think this news places a huge spotlight on the retirement situation in this country, in the US. So first of all, people are retiring later. They can't retire and people are living longer. And pension funds are really struggling as a result of negative real yields. And half of Americans, I've learned, say that they're not prepared financially for retirement. Nearly half of Americans, according to TD Ameritrade, have dipped into their retirement savings early. And 33% of Americans have no retirement plan or account at all, according to multiple studies. And on top of that, actually, I used to be a reporter and I used to actually cover nursing homes, especially in the pandemic. And the cost of those facilities, assisted living nursing homes, they're staggering. They average at least $4,000 a month. They go up to 5 figures. So how can people afford that? Well, many people, especially young people, are ditching that traditional 60-40 portfolio and they're allocating their retirement to Bitcoin. So I think this is really, really huge news. And again, we did go into the 40,000 range, but then we came back down. So how about another country legalizing Bitcoin as tender? We have the Central African Republic adopting Bitcoin. It follows El Salvador, of course, as the second nation. And it's a small nation of just 5 million residents. But the other official currency there of the Central African Republic is the CFA franc. And I learned something interesting. I wanted to dig into the history of this country because I had frankly never heard of it before. So after World War II, and as the result of Bretton Woods, the franc was devalued against the US dollar, which became the global reserve currency. And what France decided to do with some of its African colonies, of which Central African Republic was one until about 1960, they created a new form of currency for them, which they claimed would shield shield them from the debasement of the franc. Well, in that time, since World War II, the CFA franc has lost more than 90% of its value against the franc and then the euro. And people in the country have suffered a lot as a result. They often speak out that they don't have a true sovereign currency because the CFA franc has always been managed out of the French treasury. So I think this is something that many residents are going to celebrate and embrace, especially as they come to understand Bitcoin, which of course is one of the hurdles, especially in developing nations. Moving to Panama, Bitcoin is not legal tender there yet, but it will have no capital gains tax, which is reason enough for people to consider moving there, I think. There was a new bill that was passed 40-0, and crypto assets will be treated as foreign source income, which is not taxed with capital gains in Panama. And in addition to that, the bill says that it would greenlight the free use of Bitcoin as a payment method for any transactions. I've actually heard of Bitcoiners moving to Panama. I had one of my friends who's a big Bitcoiner from Italy decide that Panama is where he wants to be because of the tax advantages and sort of the economic opportunity. So I think that this is a situation where more and more people are going to vote with their feet, and they're going to go to countries where Bitcoin adoption and regulation is a little bit more friendly. And as Bill mentioned, Goldman Sachs is in the news this week. They have offered their first Bitcoin-backed loan. This is the latest sign, I think, that Wall Street is moving further and further into the Bitcoin space, taking it more seriously. And according to Bloomberg, Goldman's secured lending facility allowed a borrower to use Bitcoin as collateral for a cash loan. I think we're going to see more and more of this. If you've been following Goldman, they actually have a dedicated digital assets team. The company traded its first over-the-counter Bitcoin options with Galaxy Digital last month. That's Mike Novogratz's company. And it might aim to compete with other companies in the space, right? The crypto companies that are already offering using Bitcoin as collateral. And I think this week, the blockchain real estate platform Propi announced a partnership with Abra to allow customers access to home loans using cryptocurrency holdings as collateral, right? So maybe I can chat with Bill about that. So lots of movers and shakers here. Again, lots of developments in the space. And finally, Fort Worth, the fifth largest city in Texas, will become the first U.S. city to start mining Bitcoin in City Hall. This is a new pilot project. The project was approved in a vote by City Council this week, and it's part of a larger initiative of very crypto-friendly agenda items. According to a statement, the city partnered with the Texas Blockchain Council, which is an advocate for Bitcoin in the state. And the Texas Blockchain Council has given the city I think it's three Bitcoin S9 mining computers. The mayor says that the city wants to be a leader in tech and innovation. So first city to be mining Bitcoin. I think that's really exciting. And those are really the latest headlines with Bitcoin. Bill, I'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Natalie. Did you see this comment from the Labor Department where they were warning people about adding Bitcoin? Yeah. I mean, honestly, what the hell? I mean, I don't get it. Do you get it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's absolutely ridiculous given that, stock of Netflix dropped by, I don't even know how much percent.
Way more than Bitcoin. Way more than Bitcoin. Could you imagine if Bitcoin dropped 50%, it'd be like, oh my God, this guy's falling. It hasn't happened.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Labor Department should be more concerned with the money printing and the effects of inflation and what that's done to the labor class, Amen. The working class, and, all the effects that the petrodollar has had, basically exporting dollars and making it so that manufacturing moved overseas. I mean, that's what they should be concerned about. They shouldn't be concerned with a scared digital asset and a decentralized network that could allow people to once again save, maybe a renaissance of the middle class, if you will. So yeah, I think it's ridiculous, and I'm not surprised.
Yeah, same here. This Goldman announcement is super interesting to us, as you mentioned, because we run a multi-billion-dollar lending operation at Abra where we've secured probably a couple of billion, at least in loans against Bitcoin and Ethereum collateral over the last couple of years. And that business is booming for us. And I think that as Wall Street moves into this, it's going to really bode well for kind of these first generation crypto companies, because we have the risk management processes that actually, ironically, they don't have. And I used to work there, so I can tell you firsthand. My camera keeps falling, so I apologize to everyone. My light is, I'll hold it for a second. So I think that ultimately what we're going to see is like a lot of specialized kind of players that are basically running 24/7 operations for Bitcoin collateralized lending. And I really think I've said this before. I don't know like what you hear about this, but I think this is actually the future of the bond market. And I don't know where we're at with the Bitcoin bond in El Salvador, but it's not the same idea, but there's a lot of downside protection built into that product because of the way they collateralize things with Bitcoin. Do you have any updates on that? Have you heard anything lately on what's going on there?
No, but I do agree that this is going to be a space that continues to grow and more people are going to take advantage of using Bitcoin as collateral. And what I think is interesting is I actually know people that I've met in the community who took out loans for specifically this purpose in order to buy Bitcoin. And now they're seeing so much profit. They were able to pay off their loan because of how much Bitcoin appreciated. And then they see all of those gains. And so I find this space to be really interesting. And I'll never forget a Michael Saylor interview that I heard a long time ago. I think it was probably early 2021, where he envisioned a future where literally people are taking out loans, but the asset is appreciating so much that essentially you're not paying back the loan, right? So I just think that this is a really interesting space. And I also think, with real estate, how much it's gone up, the idea of someone purchasing a house that now has gone up in value 20%. Like, how do you afford that? How do you have the collateral? And I think Bitcoin offers the opportunity for more people to get in and actually purchase a home.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't think I've ever told the story, but he was the one that actually convinced me to have the team look at offering a 0% interest loan with a 15% LTV against your Bitcoin, which I think we're the only company to do that now. And we had this raging debate at a dinner, and I was saying, Michael, that makes no sense. And he's like, Bill, you're not thinking it through. Do the math. If people roll that loan over forever and you're sitting on the collateral and Bitcoin's appreciating at X% a year, and even if it's not, and you can do a collateral call. We did the math. We were like, fuck, he's absolutely right. And we offered the product, and it's been a huge hit for us. I mean, a lot of deposits right now coming in are collateral for these loans, which, it's awesome. And we'll actually, I have something I'll mention in a later section when the team joins on what we're doing in the real estate space in a few minutes. So as always, super. Oh, and I also wanted to mention this comment on, I think is it Fort Worth is the city that's going to be mining. What got them to do this? Have you been able to figure that out? Like, what was the impetus? I mean, obviously Texas is all about Bitcoin right now, but why Fort Worth? Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah. So my understanding is the mayor is very friendly to this, and it's largely due to the advocacy of groups like the Texas Blockchain Council. So there are lots of people that are really working to, call up their policymakers, call their local legislators, and some of them are willing to take those meetings, which I think is super exciting and bullish, especially in Texas, where so much of it's impacted by the energy and the power grid and the opportunity that mining presents there. And then, of course, on the other side of the spectrum, we have people like Senator Warren, who, keeps the door shut to these kinds of conversations. But I think this is going to make or break politicians in the future. I really do. So I think it was a great move by the mayor. She wants the city to lead. And now here it is, national headlines about Bitcoin. Yeah,
I totally agree. And it's going to be really interesting because I have this kind of evolving theory as I learn more about the intricacies of mining that it really is going to move into the grid itself via these electricity companies. We saw the deal. I think there was a nuclear power station that announced or a plant that announced they're basically partnering with a mining company to put facilities right at the edge of the network there at ultra low cost. And that's going to be the competition. And I actually ironically think, given these undertones from New York, that this is going to be where the US leads, because it's going to be the safe place to basically build these facilities where you're not going to have to worry about governments coming in and taking it over and corruption, getting it shut down and all this other stuff. And so all of this competition is going to be fantastic for Bitcoin, in my opinion, and for the energy system.
I completely agree. And I think competition and the free market is the best referee of value. And this is what I think Bitcoin is so great at. So I'm excited.
Yep. 100%. Well, as always, thanks, Natalie. Fantastic analysis, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks. See you next week.
All right. Take care. So next up, we've got the Abra product and support team here to answer all of your pressing questions. So what do you want to talk about? Give us some insights as to your questions there in the live chat. I see a bunch of questions coming in. We will have a bunch of updates into the latest happenings at Abra. So I think I alluded to this earlier. Deposit volume into Abra has literally doubled versus March numbers in 1 month. That is absolutely huge. thank you to everyone for your support for Abra. There are a ton of ways to get money into your Abra account. Basically, every major crypto we support, you can deposit in. We've set it up at Abra to make it as easy as possible for you to fund your wallet. Take a look at all of the different options you have with Abra.
Funding your Abra account is easy. Just open the app, then tap Add Money. To buy with your Visa or MasterCard, tap the app. Click Bitcoin through Simplex. Open in your web browser. Enter the amount, then paste your Abra wallet address and tap Continue. To transfer money from your bank account, tap on ACH Transfer, add a new bank account, Continue. Then select your bank. Enter your username and password. Confirm your identity with a code. Select account, enter an amount, and confirm. For a wire transfer, tap Bank Wire Transfer. Then tap Wire Instructions. Log on to your bank's online banking page, then initiate a wire transfer. Follow the instructions on the Abra app to input your account, then send your wire. Transferring crypto is simple. Tap Deposit Cryptocurrency, then select the coin you're transferring. The Abra app gives you the receive address to send your funds to. Funding is easy with Abra.
Okay, welcome back. Hey, before we introduce Deepak and Tanner and get to your questions, I wanted to follow up on this collateralized lending announcement with Goldman. Abra has been mentioned in several of the articles about this. We announced a partnership with a company called Propy this week. Propy is really, really well known in the real estate space. They basically put titles on the blockchain, which is a really interesting concept. If you've ever bought a house, you know how ridiculously complicated the title transfer process is, involving lawyers and title transfer companies, blah, blah, blah. And so Propy has partnered with Abra to provide crypto-backed real estate loans to their tens of thousands of agents. So Propy basically certifies agents in the real estate space to understand how crypto works, how people can use crypto when buying a home, and now via Abra, how to use crypto as collateral for your loan. If you're holding a lot of crypto and you're in the US and you've tried to buy a home, you know that mortgage companies have a major problem in how to deal with crypto holdings. Basically, they just ignore them because they don't know what to do with them. But with Abra, you can actually use that crypto to take a loan and potentially either for your entire mortgage, or if the house is cheap enough, less than $1 million, or potentially enough for the down payment on a home, which many of you have done with Abra. So the team at Propy, Natalia and others have been fantastic partners to work with so far. So we're really excited about this. And yeah, check out some of the coverage online. It's been super interesting. All right, so now back to our regularly scheduled program. We've got Deepak Ghosh, Abra's VP of Product, Tanner Nelson, our Director of Customer Support. Welcome, guys. How you doing?
Thanks for having me, Bill. Good. How are you?
All right. Excellent.
Good.
Excellent. Thanks for joining. So we've got a whole bunch of questions kind of being teed up here, but let's start off with some major updates to Abra. So Deepak, I see we've got some new coins on Abra Trade. Is that right?
Earn and trade, yes. So the three that we added, we're really excited about, and got really good reception so far are Dot, Luna, and Matic.
Okay.
We've had customers asking for these coins for a while now, yeah, they're in Earn now, and Dot, depending on what tier you are, the APYs in there range from 10% to 15% on Dot. Luna 3.75 to 8.75%. And Matic 6% to 11%. Now, these are some very highly requested coins, but we don't stop there. As you know, we have many other coins that are very, very much requested for coming soon as well.
Yeah, awesome. And I've seen millions actually flowing in already into these new staking options, right? So that's right out of the gate. It's been a big success for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And not much time to live. And yeah, like you said, millions of them coming in. So
yeah. So on the support front, I understand we've got a couple of really interesting new options. So we've updated the user experience for the live chat. It's really easy to find now if you go into the support function, right? Tanner, and then we've got a new 800 number for US users. Can you update us on both of those?
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, I think for US users, we're really trying to get to where, we're meeting the expectations. So we launched a new toll-free number this Monday. So it's just 1-877-2-GO-ABRA. And we also made our chat a little bit more transparent and kind of in your face, so it's harder to miss. So new widget, it's in the bottom right corner of the support site. It's just support.abra.com. So we're really trying to make ourselves available to meet everybody's needs and really understand and believe in the charter of service. So still some room to improve, of course, and we'll continue to work hard to do that.
No, it's fantastic. By the way, getting a lot of positive comments on the beard. So well done. People are loving the beard, man. So yeah. So all right. So let's get into this. Let's start off with Deepak. So obviously, the most pressing question that we're getting here is trading with CPRX and market orders. So can you tell us where we're at with that, and maybe anything else you want to add regarding Abra Perks?
Yeah. Yes, it's been asked for a while. It's the number one question that we get about CPRX. So the team has been working very hard on bringing market orders and subsequently limit orders to the platform. And unfortunately, we have run into things that we need to fix before we can basically release it into production. Obviously, it's been a principle of Abra to not publish anything that we're not proud of, and so it has to be absolutely perfect before we release anything to you or our users and customers. And so we have just a little bit more to go before we can actually release market orders to the app. So for now, we're trying really hard for this to go to all of you by mid of May. And the plan for now is, as soon as we release market orders, we open up trade on CPRX as well. On Abra Perks, we're very hard at work in creating the next version of Abra Perks. We've had so many customer feedback and requests and ideas, and we're evaluating all of them. And we're hard at work to be launching, basically thinking about what the next generation of Abra Perks should be, so that people get more value out of using Abra services. So that's something that's ongoing as well. We're very, very much hard at work, and you'll get to hear from us very soon on that front. Yeah,
fantastic. So look, we definitely jumped the gun. I jumped the gun on when market orders would be available. We had some delays internally, as Deepak said, based upon just getting the last bugs out and making sure that we're bringing you a rock solid product. This is a huge, huge infrastructure change to Abra, one of the biggest we've ever done since we launched Abra Trade. So we're definitely going to get it right. That's more important than making the dates that we talked about, because it's all of our money, not just your money. It's our money as well, and we share, the same platform as you. Okay, so let's see. I got a question here. I'll take this one from Alex on where Bitcoin and Ethereum rates stand versus our competitors. We analyze this every single week versus all of the major players in the crypto space. And I can tell you that Abra rates are at par or higher than pretty much everyone in the space for all of our coins. It's not the most important factor because we have to be responsible in how we pay yield through Prime Trust, but we do analyze what others are doing. So if there's a specific return that you're seeing from a competitor or another earned product in the space that you think is out of whack with what Abra is doing, let us know. Maybe we missed it, but I don't think we have. There are companies in the space that are subsidizing yield. That is a really, really bad idea. It's unethical, in my opinion, because it's unsustainable. And more or less, I think as a one-off promotion, it's okay as long as you tell people that it's a one-off promotion. But if you're perpetually subsidizing yield, something eventually has to give. And so we don't do that. at Abra as a general practice. Okay. All right. So let's see. We've got a whole bunch of other questions here. Really good question on web access. Good job, Abra team. When will you have web access versus the app? I'm holding off bringing my self-directed IRA LLC to Abra, which is a trust account, and I want to be able to manage it directly. So can we talk about that? Why don't you take that one, Deepak?
Yeah, so good question. And, the good news is that both of those initiatives are being very closely looked at right now. And our ETA for our web app, I think we should be able to hit the third quarter. Again, it goes back to what Bill just mentioned. It's less about the dates, more about the quality of the product, and we're very, very hard at work to bring you that experience. And we'll try to do that as soon as possible. But we're still some ways away from it. And the retirement account, same thing. We're looking very closely at those products. We're hard at work to build something out. And again, the focus here is going to be building something that we're really proud of. It's really differentiated. And so that takes time. But I can tell you that you're going to hear from us on both those fronts later this year.
Yeah. So just to kind of recap, so definitely web-based trade earn borrow is coming. You'll be able to access all the core features via the web. We're moving to a login password model as part of that. So the recovery phrase model will go away. So it'll be much easier if you get a new phone, for example, to just access Abra with a login and password. I think if I got that right. All good. So by the way, I was looking at the rates, our internal tracker, and we're definitely way above most of the competitors out there. We're above Celsius and Nexo, and certainly BlockFi on the core rates. They're very deceiving, some of them, on how they post the rates. But if you really dig in, because we're totally transparent, we actually come out ahead. So Tanner, what are the most common support requests you're seeing these days? Is there any kind of like standout one or two or three things that you guys are hearing about that the viewers here would be interested in?
Yeah, definitely. I think CPRX trading, probably the top hitter. We see a lot of that going on in the chat right now as well. And as Deepak alluded, we're really working hard to get these new trading features out on the market and really just create a healthy liquid space for folks. And we want people to be protected. So, I mean, as far as safety goes, I mean, we're all responsible adults, but I think we have a responsibility as well to make sure that we're transparent and doing the right thing for our users. I would say that's by far the biggest hitter that we have. We've also seen a number of questions around the 2FA piece. And again, that web release addresses that concern as well with password and user ID login. So I would say those are the two big hitters that we have right now.
Yep. So clearly we've got a bunch of people not listening. They're still asking about CPRX trading after we just spoke about it. So please go back and listen. But we are going to be turning on CPRX trading in very soon. It's been delayed. I apologize. It's on me, but we will have it. We're just going to get the bugs out and make sure we have it right. There were some questions about the history of CPRX and trading. Let me address that. When we first turned on CPRX in the Abra app, it was available for trading because it's an ERC20 Ethereum token. It's available on any exchange that wants to list it. It's listed on Bittrex and what's it called? FW, I think it's called, or something like that. It's on, I think, Uniswap or Sushi or one of these DEXs. So they're trading it. And it's extremely volatile, especially in the early days, because almost no one had CPRX, and out of the gate, a few people were trying to buy, and that caused the price to spike. That had nothing to do with Abra. To my knowledge, Abra has never sold a single CPRX token. I know I haven't. I keep buying. But there are players out there who got very early CPRX airdrops, who took the CPRX offline and were selling on maybe some of these DEXs or Bittrex International or FDFW or whatever exchanges it was listed on. but there were a few people that tried to buy out of the gate, and that caused an initial price spike. And because it's a very illiquid token, and a lot of our international users who got CPRX as rewards for referrals, and some people were gaming the referral system, which is, it is what it is. It's totally fine. Have been waiting to sell their CPRX. And the good news is for most of you like me that are buying CPRX and holding it, and I also know where CPRX is going, and so I'm super excited about it. And so effectively, 65% of CPRX has actually been locked up in Abra Earn, which means it's unavailable to buy or sell, right? So that's really interesting. So like I said, I think if I had this to do over again, there's a few things I would probably, well, I know the team feels the same way. There's a few things we would do differently about how CPRX launch happened. It's all good. We're learning about this. It was effectively free money for everyone. And so please look at it that way. And it's a big global test, which I did say when we launched the system. And I am super bullish on it. As I said, I've been buying for weeks now, and I'm super bullish on CPRX. So we'll have a lot more to say about CPRX in the coming weeks. And I don't think we're going to take any more questions on CPRX now. Let me see. We do have a whole bunch more. So a bunch of comments, Deepak, on adding more tokens for staking. I saw one here on HBAR and TRX, so we can take that under advice on our list of things to look at for staking. We do have a long list, folks, of things we're looking at for staking, from Ethereum 2.0 to other things. Staking is non-trivial because we're not actually lending to generate yield. We're actually using staking platforms directly. Well, you are through Abra. Somebody here was asking about Ape. I've heard rumors that Ape will be added to our trading partner platforms, which will allow us to bring it to you. So stay tuned for that. And somebody again asking about ETH 2.0. So yes. Now keep in mind that if we offer ETH 2.0 staking, the Ethereum is permanently locked up. Right now with Ethereum in Abra Earn, you have near real-time access to withdraw your Ethereum. We give you 1 week access, whereas with Ethereum 2.0, you do get higher yields with the staking, but you don't have access to the Ethereum. Okay, so keep that in mind. Somebody was asking about either IRA or 401k access. Did you want to comment on that, Deepak, and your thoughts on IRAs within Abra?
Yeah, again, very much a highly requested feature there. And to my knowledge, there are no direct competitors of ours that do offer retirement and IRA services. But we are very, very much looking into it. We are in fact talking to a lot of different service providers out there to integrate with Abra to create something very special, very seamless, very easy for our users to participate in those products. Again, very much in demand. And hopefully we're able to bring something to you by the third or the fourth quarter this year. Again, we're not going to just focus on launching a Me Too product out there. We're going to try to make sure that it's very differentiated, very seamless, again, following our fundamental principle that it has to be very, very easy and intuitive for anybody to participate in. Yeah, we're very confident we'll get there. We are looking at it. We understand the complexity. Yeah, we're very confident we'll be able to launch something very special to you very soon.
Awesome. That's awesome. So really cool. Let's see. So Tanner, somebody was mentioning, and I come across this a lot, two things. One, if somebody loses their recovery or security phrase and they've gone through the ID verification process with Prime Trust, do we have a means to help them get back into their wallets?
The short answer is yes. As long as you've been through the ID verification and you've provided us with your information, then we do have a manual process, so you can reach out and we can get you back into your wallet.
So they can just go, should they just go to support@abra.com, since they may not be able to access the support function in the app, or is that, yeah. So So
Good
I see,
question.
yeah.
Yeah, support.abra.com. Anything and everything support related that you need for Abra, that's going to be your main hub. That's where we house all of our content. You have access to live chat and the new voice feature as well.
Awesome. So I see Munasir Hamid, you were asking about this recovery phrase issue. If you've already registered via your ID on Abra, the team can help you. Just contact them via the live chats on the web, on the support page, or send an email via the support page, and they will help you. And that's shouldn't be a problem. Let's see. We'll take two more questions. A lot of requests on staking. Somebody commenting, they're really bullish on Matic staking. So am I. That's great to hear. Abra is the future digital wallet. I couldn't agree more. Thank you for that. Any thought on BitRiver sanctions and if Compass Mining will be able to get their clients anything for their equipment? I haven't looked into it. I guess BitRiver is mining in Russia, and they're basically, according to OFAC, violating open sanctions against certain businesses doing business either in Russia or Crimea or some combination. I don't know. It's not a business that I actually actively track, although I have heard about the news. My understanding is Compass Mining is killing it. I don't know about getting access to that equipment or how, given the sanctions, they would even get the equipment out of Russia. So my guess is that's not going to happen anytime soon. And that equipment is probably useless for a while. So I don't know what else is going to happen there. Let's see. Is it ethical for the same utility companies to use their own kilowatts at low to no cost to compete with their mining retail customers? Well, if it's a private business, why not? If it's a public utility, then I might have an issue with that. But I have an issue with a lot of these utility companies being public utilities anyway. But as private companies, if they're funded using private money, then they should be able to do what they want with the electricity they generate. Again, this is just my opinion. If they're funded using public money, then that's a totally different story. Then the public effectively owns that energy, right? So anyway, all right. So Tanner, if somebody's wallet is restricted and they're not sure why, is there a process for helping them, and what should they do?
At the risk of sounding like a broken record, reach out to us. Yeah, we have access to systems that we need to be able to understand like what the restriction is. As you all know, we work with various partners throughout our products, but I mean, anything and everything, we should be able to get your questions answered. We have 24/7 support available through chat, and we have a 24/7 team via email as well. Hours of operation for voice for U.S. customers Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific, and we can get you squared away. Okay,
fantastic. So Deepak, lots of people asking about Abra credit cards. Not sure how much we would want to talk about there now, but the good news is that there's a lot of people interested in it.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. We were interested in it as well, and we're definitely looking into it, but more to come later.
Yeah. I'm trying not to smile too hard on that one. I need my Abra card. I got my Gemini card. As Dave says, I got my Gemini card last week. Another comment, would love to see Abra have one so I can switch. Love that comment. And love, they're friends of mine, but I like Abra better too. So I'm with you on that one. Somebody asking about 1099s. I'll take that one. So we do actually send 1099s today for Abra Earn. And if you are above the $600 limit, and this is a US question, by the way, those of you outside the US don't know what a 1099 is. It's basically a tax form for interest earned from some type of investment product in the US. And if you are above $600 in interest, you do get a 1099. So if you haven't received it, given that the tax deadline has already passed, you need to contact support right away. And they will be able to get you a digital copy, is my understanding. But yes, they do go out automatically to people who use Abra Earn. Abra Trade is a different story. We don't know what your earnings are on trades because most of you are depositing crypto and we don't know what you paid for the crypto. So if you sell it, you can download a transaction history, but we can't tell you your P&L because we don't know what you paid, because you bought it somewhere else and then you deposited into Abra either to stake for yield, to trade for another altcoin, or maybe to sell and withdraw to your bank account, which is a very common thing on Abra as well. So hopefully that makes sense. We talk about taxes all the time, by the way. If you just go to YouTube and search Abra taxes, my guess is, or Google, you'll find a whole bunch of articles and comments about tax optimization and other things. Yeah. All right. So let's see. Support is live in the chat here, helping people. Thank you to the Abra team for that. Michelle said she loved our panel discussion with Scott Melker yesterday. Oh, you got to check this out. So I was on Wolf of Wall Street's show yesterday with Alex Mashinsky from Celsius, Caitlin Long, who is awesome, who runs a startup out of Wyoming, and I forget his name. Another gentleman who is very active in the Bitcoin space, who we follow each other and I hadn't heard much from before. Anyway, it was a very lively debate about collateralized lending and what should or shouldn't happen. And Abra came out looking, I think, really, really good in the conversation because of how open we are about how we do all of this. And so thank you all for tuning in. And you can check it out on Scott Melker's Twitter feed or my own Twitter feed. The link from yesterday's show. How about Proppy on Earn, since you are partnering with the company? So we are working on getting Proppy listed on Abra Trade for international. So I suspect that should happen in the next few weeks. On Earn, I don't know. I don't think there's much borrow demand for Proppy right now, so that might be a challenge. But certainly I foresee it coming on Trade in the next few weeks would be my guess. Okay. All right. So I don't know, Deepak, anything that we should mention that we haven't talked about yet?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the most pressing issues for sure. And for those of us who've missed, just please rewind back, and most of your burning questions have been answered. So other than that, we do get requests all the time, and some of them we got in this show as well, which was very heartening to see that the things that we are thinking about are the same ones that our customers are thinking about. It's also really exciting products coming in. We couldn't really give you more information right now, but as soon as we're able to, we'll definitely come back and talk more about those products. But yeah, in general, just keep giving us the feedback, keep giving us your thoughts and ideas. We definitely are here listening to you, and every day we try to make our products better.
Yeah, I can tell you firsthand, I know this for a fact, if you send product feedback to Abra Global on Twitter, to Bill Barhydt on Twitter, to the support email, it gets to the product team. We have internal messaging systems where we post the feedback, we talk about it, we love it. So if you're watching this and you have ideas for Abra, it's great to bring it up here. But we'd love to give you credit in the future if you send us a note on social media or via the support channel. And it definitely drives our thinking. A lot of these comments on adding a card, adding NFT support that I see, different coins for staking. I can assure you that a lot of this is not just based upon what Bill wants or what Deepak wants. A lot of it is based upon this feedback that we're getting firsthand from all of you. So we love it and keep it coming. Thank you, Tanner, to you and the support team. You guys have a thankless, hard job, 24/7. You're open just like Bitcoin, 24/7. No off hours, and that's why you have no time to shave. So we really appreciate that. And so I apparently, not to embarrass you even more, but according to the live stream chat here, you're the new sex symbol for Abra. So you may get your own segment before we know it. So keep it up.
Very cool.
That doesn't warrant a response, by the way. That was just more of a rhetorical. But if you want to respond, go ahead. All right, so we're basically going backwards in perpetual regression mode here. So why don't we call it a day? You guys were awesome. Thank you so much. We're going to make this a regular thing. Want to have you guys on. I don't know if not every week, certainly every couple of weeks, and we'll see. Maybe it warrants every week. I know when I look at our product roadmap. We've got a lot to talk about in the coming weeks. So, but for now, that wraps up this week's edition of Money Talks. Thank you so much to the Abra team for joining, Deepak, Tanner, support team in the background, the production team. Thank you everyone for watching. Click the like and subscribe button. It really helps us. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it does. YouTube has and Google have all kinds of funky algorithms. When you like the video, when you subscribe to our channel, it really helps us out. If you don't have Abra yet, get your phone and click on the QR code on the screen right now. I'll take you right to where you can download the app for free. So do that right now. We've got a great show coming up for you next week. We'll be broadcasting from Miami during this huge Formula One event. I am a huge Formula One fan, like a fanatic. I actually rewind and rewatch races. That's how fanatical I am. Marissa Kim, who couldn't be joining us this week because of her travels with Crypto Bahamas, will be here to tell us all about Abra Capital Management and what she saw at the show. Okay, so that is it for this week from all of us at Abra. Thanks again for watching and take care.